Click the links you join the channel here or on subscribe, sir. Thanks to the recent members. So I think it's kind of important to touch on these sort of issues because if we don't bring this stuff, we don't bring attention to this kind of stuff and use the network that we have in place in Comicsgate, I mean, nobody else will. So the Indiegogo shadow bans Mike Barron, and I searched it for myself, and it is shadow banned. Which means it does not turn up in a search result or on the front page of the comics thing, which is, I mean, is it fair? Is it fundamentally fair? No, and things should be fair. It's not deeper than that. It's like things should just be fair. To this detrimental reliance concept of you rely on these websites to treat you fairly and sell your product, and you realize, oh, you're not going to be treated fairly because of your subject matter or your viewpoints on some comic, which would be fine a few years ago. And here's the thing: it's like if you're the platform, why don't you just be clear up front and say the rules? Well, it's like, why does any social media platform, YouTube, what are the rules? Oh, we're not going to tell you the rules because we don't want you to go around them, but technicalities, and two, we want the ability to simply just ban people for whatever reason we want, which is what happened, after 2016. They kicked off a few tens of thousands of channels. It's like, oh, what rules did they violate? We just didn't want them around. It's like that happens. But for Indiegogo, if you're going to be as woke, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, if you have these, if you're openly going to discriminate against anyone who's vaguely to the right of Mao, then that should be in the terms of service on your front page. Just openly say, yeah, these are left wing sites. Don't start the detrimental reliance. Don't start selling stuff on them and get your network on them involved, and then all of a sudden you learn that, oh yeah, some topics are haram. It's like, well, just tell us right up front. Tell us right up front what topics are haram. So to sum up a complicated issue quickly, we got to have a freedom-based parallel society. We can start it off as a website to sell, comics, merchandise, and a payment processor. That's not an insurmountable hurdle these days. Specifically, you can start with comics and then the merchandise that goes along with comics, t-shirts, I don't know, toys, that kind of thing. And then you expand it into something like Indiegogo or Kickstarter where you charge people a fee and you sell their stuff. They started and they got venture capital together to start with it. And the thing is, we're finally at the point where it's possible to do something like that, where the buy-in costs are not insane, and there is a need for it. Something like Give, Send, Go or Gab Marketplace could probably include a branch for this kind of stuff and incorporate Comicsgate within it. Or there are people in Comicsgate with the resources to team up and literally start their own. I think, what's that guy? I forget the guy's name. Eric July's got a comic. I think he's going to sell it on his website. But, if you're already selling something on a website, it's just as easy to sell two comics on a website. And you go, hey, I'm going to take, 7%, like whatever the other platforms take. And that'll take care of that. It's like, oh, okay, that's worth it. And then everyone could just sell on that website. And right up front, you go, yeah, I'm not even going to look at it. As long if it's legal, it can be sold. That's the thing. It's like, oh, how do you feel about these comics that portray these marginalized and oppressed? Like I said, if it's legal, it can be sold. And if you're on the left and you want to sell your comics, you want to punch a Nazi, again, if it's legal, knock yourself out. I mean, that's the easiest way to treat it. It was like you don't even go down the road of discussing it. So both Indiegogo and Kickstarter are run by far left wing censors. I forget that girl's name with the green hair. It looked like you look at some people and you go, clearly, ma'am, you're a lunatic. Like, I don't know how long we're gonna look at these people and just not call them what they are. Absolute friggin' lunatics. So Mike Barron and I think Mike Miller with one of his Lone Star comics found out that these aren't open and unbiased marketplaces. They and PayPal and Patreon. There's an interview with Jack Conte, and he is such a freaking weirdo. I think he's a Patreon, which I use Subscribestar, and you guys have been really cool over there. Such a freaking weirdo where you go like, yeah, PayPal, Patreon, all these other platforms, we just want a payment processor, dude. Like Give, Send, Go, Subscribestar, Cash App, and all those others would never even spring into existence, and now crypto. If like the normal sites were like, yeah, we just want you to move money around. If it's legal, people aren't selling, kilos of contraband. We don't want you to get involved. And like seeing this interview with Jack Conte, nobody should know who you are, dude. Just like process the payments and take your cut. That's a fair exchange. Like, no. We need to shape the narrative so we get people. We're going to use this for political power. It's like, okay, well then you should say that right up front, or there should be legal constraints against discrimination against people who want to use their platform. It's a private company, guy. Yeah, yeah, but I value, like I've said, I value the individual liberty over the billion-dollar company. No, they should not be able. A billion-dollar company should not be able to discriminate against Mike Barron or Mike Miller or anyone who wants. Or who's that guy? Sargon Avocado, he kicked off a PayPal. Actually, he got back on. He's on Gab actually, but he just recently got back on Twitter. As I was on Twitter for 2 days and I was got off it again, which is just as well. I think sucks up a lot of time. So like PayPal, Patreon, they all want to control a narrative. They are political operatives. They are globalists. And now that I've met, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to use that language on YouTube, because it's apparently everything has multiple meanings. And you go, okay, so Tim Pool was talking about this the other night. He goes, okay, so that word's a hot word now. So what word can we use in its place? And the truth of the matter is like, oh, we don't want you using any word in its place. We want the topic haram. The concept is haram. This is a fait accompli. This is a conclusion. We're concluding with the conclusion. No, friendo, you start with the issue and then the argument, and then you conclude with the conclusion. No. We're just going to go conclusion. But that makes you guys the authoritarian dictators. It's like you're catching on fast there, Bianca. Yeah, they were the authoritarian dictators the whole time. They were the black shirts. So if these people who control all these kind of Indiegogo, Kickstarter, PayPal, Patreon, they're globalists. They control the narrative. If your content, your comic book goes against the narrative, they're going to shadow ban it, or they're just going to outright block it with Mike Miller and his very excellent Lone Star, which was very well drawn. The only way to escape this is to build your own Indiegogo that doesn't censor. Aren't you tired of let me get to his artwork. Sorry about that. Aren't you tired? Where's it? Open image. And this is a politically incorrect. In 2022, it's politically incorrect. In 1992, this would be woke because the guy is, I don't know, Cuban, Afro-Cuban or something like that. Like this would be not left-winger, but it would be, like reaching across the aisle for like 30 years ago. And you go, oh, so 2022, this image itself, like in a year from now, 2 years from now, you wouldn't be able to make this specific video on YouTube just because this image itself would be the guys with the 7.62s or whatever they use nowadays. What do they use? Something smaller for some reason. I don't know how that works. Yeah, these are marginalized and oppressed people who commit malum-in-se acts on a large scale, and that's like the vocal uptick and the vocal fry. I hate everything about all these people. So this would be politically incorrect. And the snake on his chest vaguely looks like a do not tread on. Oh, you mean the California flag? Like we're gonna change that, or like whatever. How do I do the vocal uptick and the fry? I don't know. Anyway, private American on Indiegogo, but you're gonna have to go to Mike Barron's. I'll include the link if I remember down below. We gotta this isn't an insurmountable hurdle to just say, okay, why doesn't Comicsgate make their own thing? There's a bunch of big names who've got the resources to go. Just simply, there's a bunch of people who could team up and each put in, and like, well, you could just form a limited liability company and do it. Because it's not like not everyone needs it now. It's only a couple of comics that have been banned. But it's like it's this self-censorship of like Mike Miller's thing and Mike Barron's thing. They're telling everybody like, okay, these are the boundaries. These are not what is not allowed. So everyone else is just going to self-censor, and it's not applicable to a lot of the stuff I've seen in comics. But like you shouldn't have to self-censor, and the only way to go around that is simply create your own website. I don't know how hard that is. I mean, it's not like $1 billion project. It's not $1 million project. It's something less than that. I mean, I think it's kind of well within the capabilities of a lot of people in CG to form an LLC and or a non. I don't know what the exact form it would take to form something, and just like it might actually turn out to be very lucrative because Indiegogo and Kickstarter I'm sure are $1 billion companies. It's not inconceivable that whoever got on the first, like if Eric July does something like Indiegogo, in 10 years, it could be $1 billion company. It's like I look at a lot of these things that if you've been in social media or like you pay attention for a few enough years, you really look at like Gab TV, and you realize, the first one of the alt community that gets live streaming and a payment processor and is stable for a few months. Within a year, that thing could be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Within 2 years, it would be $1 billion company. That's how I think that's how much desire is out there for all these everyone in the alt community. And that doesn't mean you're running around, like super far right Roman, whatever type of nonsense. It just means everyone who's not like you realize when they start kicking off people who are, I'm doing it finger quotes here, on the far extreme right. Well, that's like everyone. That's everyone who does a comic book like this. It's like suddenly this guy is grouped with people much legitimately further right. So you realize like, oh yeah, these are the people who are all banned from the mainstream. So you're gonna have to form a community, and just ignore those purity tests, because purity test means you're abiding by, you're still trying to placate the left wing, and that's just a losing argument. The dogma should be, if it's legal, we're gonna sell it, and anyone can be on board. And if all these like Gab and Gab Pay and Gab Marketplace and Gab TV and Give Send Go and Subscribestar, who I suspect is in the alt community, and Odyssey and Shing and all these alt people, it's like there's got to be like a conference for this kind of alt community to get together and go like, yeah, we're at a time where we need to form a parallel marketplace. Like this could be very, very lucrative for the people involved. And yeah, it's going to be an uphill struggle, because the media is going to be against you. It's like all these far right people. You're like, yeah, I wasn't actually, I never thought of myself as a far right person, but now you've lumped me in with the people who are actually far right. And now I look at them like, oh yeah, it seemed like you were lying about a lot of things you said about them, because I know you're lying about the things you're saying about me. So is it possible that you're lying about these other people? I mean, there's you can go further down that path, but I'll leave it at this, because I've got the past few videos. They don't get monetized, so they sit. I just make the members videos. I don't know what the membership is. I think it's 99 cents, or if it's not 99 cents, let me know and I'll make it 99 cents, and you can watch the members videos. And it's just an easier way to support channel if you want. But my point is they don't get monetized, so at least there's no advertisements on them, which I guess is something. So I just put them for the members only. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, check out Private America by Mike Barron. I'll see you guys all next episode.